Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of DreTalksHoops. I'm your host, Andrea, and today we're going to be talking about recapping the Sweet 16 and Elite 8, and talking about the Final Four and the matchups for that. Talking about also the future of college basketball with the McDonald's All-American game that just happened, and we're going to talk about the transfer portal as well, and maybe where some of the players are going and where they if some have already like committed to other schools. And as always, thank you for listening. I really appreciate everyone who like listens and watches. It doesn't go unnoticed. So really, just thank you so much for just taking out the time out of your day, just listen to me talk about hoops. It really does mean a lot, and I do appreciate it. So let's get into it. So over the weekend, we had the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 matchups. So the first game of the day was Duke in North Carolina. And if you've been watching these teams all season long, you kind of know it's going to be a big defensive battle. They're both top defensive teams. And going to the game, I knew it was probably going to be like a slugfest, and it was. Like, neither team reached 50 points. And Duke ended up winning this game 47-38. UNC came out the gate swinging the first quarter. They had a big lead of 11-0 on Duke. But Duke called out. They had their own 13-0 run. And once they got the lead, they never really relinquished it back. It was a pretty good back and forth game. I mean, it was a dogfight, kind of like get out the mud kind of game. Which I love these kind of games to see the defensive battles. Of course, seeing offensive games are great, but I love to seeing those defensive battles. And all games are gonna be high scoring games. You gotta get out the mud kind of games, the grinded out games. So I love these kind of games. It gets your heart going. But I loved seeing this game. It was great. It was great to see Lucci, back to herself again. She had a double-double, 12 points, 12 boards. I think UNC they had a big third quarter, so I think the closest they got was maybe around 2 or 3 points, and then Reagan Richardson hit like a big three to kind of like push the lead back up to five or six, and Duke never really relinquished. Once they had the lead, they never really let go of it. So I don't think no UNC player got into double figure scoring, so that's really good. They kind of held Duke kind of held their own. So really great defensive battle. I love to watch this game, like especially kind of remind baseball and softball, where like it's kind of like going like a pitcher's duel. And of course, don't get me wrong, I love seeing home runs, but I love also seeing which team is which team is going to break. Which pitcher is going to give out that run or that hit. So I also like to see games like this. It was a great game. So Duke moved on to their first Elite Eight since 2013. So Coach Lawson has that team rolling from when she took over to now. The future is bright for this program under Coach Lawson. And the second game of the day was South Carolina and Maryland. This game was probably pretty closer than most people thought. South Carolina only won by 4 points. This was a pretty back and forth game throughout the whole time. Even Maryland had the lead some for half the game as well too. But too much Marlacia for Wiley. She came a big for them with 23 points. And Chloe Kidd, she was in double figure scoring as well for South Carolina. And but Maryland, they held their own. They've been a pretty good team all season. I love their post play and their guard play, and especially with Cheyenne Sellers and Sarah Tibasu. That game against Alabama at home for them, it was just crazy, and they came in big. I think really was a factor was when Maryland's Kayleen Smichael, she had 17 points, but she had fouled out early in the game. So once she fouled out, kind of affected Maryland and how they were running stuff. They still kept it close. They still battled and fought it out. So this game really could have gone really either way. Cheyenne Sellers had a turnover late in the game that could have either gave them the lead or kind of made them get closer or tie it up and end up turning the ball over. But that's what happens sometimes down the end against experienced teams who kind of been there. You kind of it's a possession game, and then you can't really turn the ball over, and then when the possessions matter that most in a close game like that. So that's tough for them. But Maryland, they should have nothing to hang their heads on. They had a great, amazing season. I know they'll be back again next year. So kudos to Maryland. But South Carolina will move on. They will face Duke in the Elite Eight. in that Birmingham region. And the next game was LSU and NC State. LSU ended up beating NC State 80-73. I mean, it was back and forth. I mean, LSU jumped up to a good lead on them as well on NC State, but NC State was able to come back and even gain the lead. I think they even had the lead going to half. It was like a 2 or 4 point lead. But I mean, the scores, the second and third quarters were for each team were a big factor. Second quarter was big for NC State, and then the third quarter was big for LSU. I mean, I thought NC State might be able to pull this game out since like the first matchup they had. I think LSU was able to handle them pretty easily, even though I mean the game was at LSU. But I mean, I guess the Achilles heels for NC State in their losses have been like their post play, and they are young in the post. They do play freshmen, but of course they were going against Anissa Morrow, experienced senior, and she had a monster game of 30 points and 19 boards. So that post play the Achilles heel for NC State, and like if they're out rebounding, they've usually lost the game. But I feel like the guards should have stepped up more for NC State if they need to win too as well. Like if you can't do much for the post play, cause Anissa she's gonna get hers, but if the guards could have showed up, I thought the game might have had like a different outcome. I mean, Zoe Brooks did show up. She had 21 points for NC State, and they went back and forth towards the end. Like basically, LSU would score, it'd be a tie game. NC State would score, like someone would either take the lead and then someone would respond back. So it's going back and forth. Like Zoe Brooks would score, or Michaela Williams would go down there and score for LSU. So I think in NC State, I mean LSU finally got a stop on a defensive stop, and finally was able to kind of keep the lead and pull away. So I was expecting bigger games for Isaiah James and Sanaya Rivers and Madison Hayes, especially knowing it's going to be their last game. It could potentially be their last game, so I was expecting a little bit more from them. And NC State, I feel like they kind of live by 3 and die by 3 if it's not really going down. I feel like they should try to attack more and maybe kick out, but I feel like sometimes they were trying to either have too much ISO ball or just kind of just taking threes or not really trying to get in the offensive rhythm. Like, I guess you need more from Isaiah and Rivers. I mean, Isaiah James, she had 12 points. I mean, she was not too bad, but I mean, Rivers and Hayes, they need to step up some more. I mean, I think the guard play would have been a really great factor in this game. I know they held Flau'jae. She wasn't really at the offensive threat, so I mean, they were kind of doing their assignment, and if they were trying to limit the guards, but then they let Anissa, of course, she went off for her night, but yeah, sometimes how it goes. And LSU ends up moving on, so I feel like the guard play and the post play were big X factors for that game, and you can tell and see how that played out for them. And then the next game we have UCLA. They beat Ole Miss 76-62. I mean, pretty comfortable. I mean, I feel like this is like the most this game and like the Texas game, they were like the most kind of like well, not like like the other games where like you kind of knew like who might would end up winning, but I know like people might have thought maybe Ole Miss might upset UCLA, but UCLA, I mean, they're number 1 overall seed for a reason. I mean, I know Ole Miss has been playing like great defense. They've been they upset the 4 seed. They've been playing really well. I mean, Coach Shutt's been playing really good in March. Even a few seasons ago when they upset Stanford, on their home court. So I mean, Ole Miss, they're coming. They have a pretty good, really good team. So I'm excited to see what Coach Yo does with this team. Like, they just keep on growing and growing. But I mean, too much UCLA. Lauren Betts, she had 31 points, 10 rebounds, a double-double. And Kiki Rice, their point guard, UCLA, she had 13 points and 7 assists. And Texas beat Tennessee. I mean, I figured Texas probably would beat Tennessee. I mean, Texas has been playing really good. I mean, they already know each other pretty well. They're both in the SEC. But I mean, Tennessee put up a good battle. And, it wasn't too bad of a game. I mean, it could have been gone either way, but just too much Texas, and Texas moves on. And USC, Southern Cal, played Kansas State. And this was the first game for Southern Cal without Juju Watkins. It was a pretty close game throughout. I mean, Kansas State even had like a lead in the first quarter, but Southern Cal kept on battling. They really get that separation in the fourth quarter. And we were able to beat Kansas State 67-61. And for Kansas State, Ayoka Lee, senior, it ends her career. So, I mean, Kansas State, they've been playing pretty good, and she knows she was playing really well once she came back from her foot injuries, and got them all the way to the Sweet 16. So I know Kansas State, they'll be back too as well. They're a good team. Another matchup, TCU versus Notre Dame. I mean, TCU proved that there was no fluke when they beat Notre Dame, at the beginning of this regular season out in the Bahamas, and they proved that that game wasn't just, oh, we were, we just got them. No, they proved that they're they're elite, and they're nothing to mess with either. TCU ended up beating Notre Dame 71, 71-62. I thought Notre Dame, excuse me, I thought Notre Dame would have won this game, but TCU, they came to play. The post play was big, and then even Notre Dame, I mean, they missed a bunch of layups and bunnies around the rim. Notre Dame even had a lead in the third quarter. They was back and forth, but Haley Van Lith, she was just bound and determined. She wasn't losing. She had 26 points, 9 rebounds. Sedona Prince, she had 21 points. And I feel like Notre Dame, if they would have just made some shots, it would have maybe changed the outcome, maybe not. But I mean, Hannah Hidalgo, she was 3 of 19 from the field. Their big three, Sonia Central, 4 of 15 from the field. Olivia Miles, 3 of 10 from the field. I mean, when your big three is shooting like that, I mean, you're probably not going to win too many games. So, I mean, there's a bunch of layups and missed opportunities. And Olivia Miles, I mean, there's I guess every time when I was watching the game, I just feel like Coach Neil Ivy, she doesn't really trust her on the defensive side. Every time close towards the ends, she always takes her out, subs her out, defense, offense. Olivia Miles. And this is the fourth straight Sweet 16 exit for Notre Dame. They're just trying to get over that hump. I mean, they've with Coach Ivy, they've won the regular season ACC a few years ago. A couple years ago, they won the ACC tournament championship a year before last. So, I mean, she's doing well in the conference, just trying to get over that hump of the Sweet 16 and get her to the Elite Eight and probably to her her first Final Four as a coach. So, yeah, Notre Dame, I think. I mean, everyone started off the season so well. I mean, #1 team in the country. I mean, people are talking about them having #1 overall seed in the tournament, and before that slide towards the end of the season. And I guess they're kind of getting exposed a little bit with their post play and with their guard play. But I mean, yeah, that was just a really good battle, really good game throughout. I mean, I thought Notre Dame would get their revenge, but I mean, TCU had other plans, and man, I mean, what a game! And TCU, they advanced to their first Elite Eight in program history. What the coach at TCU has been able to do, even last year, they were having they're on social media and stuff asking for people to try out for the team, and just now to see them now going to the Elite Eight and just won the Big 12 regular season and the tournament, just crazy to turn around. Kudos to them. So I mean, we'll see with Notre Dame. I mean, I know they'll come back next season, but we'll see what they'll do. I mean, I know this one's got a sting. And this senior class with Sonia, Olivia Miles, and Maddie Westfeld, they weren't able to get out the Sweet 16 their whole time there. So I mean, that's gotta hurt a little bit, but I mean, I know Coach Ivy will figure out how to get over this hump. And then the next game. Well, the last game of the Sweet 16 was UConn and Oklahoma. And UConn handled Oklahoma pretty easily, 82-59. Paige Beckers, I mean, doing Paige Becker does. She dropped 40 points on them. I mean, what else can you ask for from her? I mean, she does it all for UConn. And she was letting everyone know she's not going home, and she's came into battle. She's ready, and she's trying to take UConn, back to the mountaintop. So she was bound and determined she wasn't going home. And Reagan Beers for Oklahoma, she had double-double of 10 points, 10 rebounds. But I mean, Oklahoma, they've had a great year as well in the SEC. They're for their first year after after everything they have with the excuse me, with the conferences. So I mean, after hanging their hat on Oklahoma, they'll be back again. So I'm excited to see what they do in the future. So on to the Elite Eight. Our matchups are set. We had Duke and South Carolina, LSU, UCLA, TCU, Texas, and UConn versus USC, Southern Cal. So for the first matchup, we had Duke versus South Carolina, and I was wondering if this game was going to be another defensive battle, and that's no secret, of course it is. And the first matchup, they played is more high scoring. South Carolina ended up winning this game 54 to 50. But the first time they matched up, I think it was back in Columbia in December. It was South Carolina's 70. South Carolina 81, Duke 70. So a little more high scoring. 11-point win for them. But Duke. This is a back and forth game. The whole game mostly. Even Duke even had like a lead. I think they made like the most. They led by like 5 or 6. I was like, there's like made third quarter. Yeah, even like going to the fourth quarter, they had like a 2-point lead. Duke came to play. I think credit to Coach Kira Elsie. She used to be the Kentucky head coach. I feel like she probably had this scout, and she knows South Carolina well. She even beat them a couple years ago in the SEC tournament championship. So I feel like she probably did have this scout. This is a great. Duke was right there. Toby Fournier had 18 and 6 rebounds for Duke. There's a little questionable call where Coach Lawson didn't have Toby in towards the end. But I know we trust in. I know the players say they trust Kara, and then I feel like she wanted to let Ashlyn kind of make a play, because Ashlyn's been making plays this whole postseason all year for them. So I felt like she was letting the junior kind of had trust in Ashlyn, and the 3 didn't fall, but I live with your decision. Live with the decision. I feel like it was a good decision. I know Ashley's been pretty hot from 3, and I feel like she can make a play, and it just didn't go that way. And then there was some confusion too as well. Like South Carolina was taking the ball out towards the end, and Duke was lined up. I guess they thought South Carolina shooting free throws, but it was just on the inbound. So just little mishaps, little missteps. Kind of like to show for the experience and inexperience. But this game, every possession matters. I think Duke turned it over 19 times. It's kind of tough to beat a team when you turn the ball over that much. But they kept it close. They kept South Carolina well below. Their scoring average is just, Duke didn't score enough to get the win. But clearly, the South Carolina, they had an amazing game. I think they held for Wiley. She had 10 points. Of course, this game was going to be hard to get points regardless. But Duke, they did have a plan. I feel like they followed the scout just things didn't go their way. They might have even had this game, but I know Duke, they're going to be back. I can't wait to see what Coach Lawson does. Ari Robertson, she was hurt this year. We're also getting Riley Nelson. She was on. She played for Maryland, and she's really good. So I can't wait to see what she does in a Duke uniform. And then but mostly we're just there's graduating Reagan Richardson, so basically the whole team will be back. So if they made it to the Elite Eight this year, I just can't imagine what the sky is or what the limit is for this Duke team. And they won the ACC championship as well, so I know they will get over that hump and be able to reach a Final Four. Excuse me, they'll be able to reach a Final Four. I feel like it's coming, because they're now the program with the most wins without a championship. So I know it's coming. They're here. Last year when they were saying they're on the way, I feel like they're here. So I know Duke's gonna be much respected now. Everyone knows how, once you play Duke, you just get in that defense. So credit to South Carolina. They're moving on to another Final Four. Coach Staley, she has them girls rolling. But yeah. In the next matchup, we had LSU versus UCLA. UCLA ended up winning this game 65-72. Lauren Betts had 17 points. Gabriela Jaquez had 18. Flage, she had a much better game this game. She dropped 28 points. And Nisa Marvin, I feel like UCLA kind of kept her in check. She had 15 and 7 this game from where she had 30 and 19 against NC State. So I feel like UCLA was able to contain her, but of course, UCLA has better posts to be able to battle down there with Morrow. So I figured UCL probably would be able to beat LSU, and this ends Anissa Mar's career for LSU. But I mean, I know she's gonna be going into WBA doing big things. I mean, she's had an amazing career. Started off at DePaul and then came to LSU for the last 2 years. So I mean, credit to them. I mean, and Flau'jae Johnson still up in the air. I mean, I think she's eligible to go to the draft, but I don't know if she will or not. But I mean, yeah, a great season for them. UCLA moves on, and then the next game we had was Texas versus TCU. I mean, this was a great game going back and forth. Texas ends up winning 58-47. I mean, I feel like they were like TCU was letting like Roy Harmon shoot more, and they're like kind of leaving her open, and she was making them pay because I think they were trying to limit like Madison Booker, but I mean Roy Harmon, she's a beast too. Man, I know she's been came off that ACL injury she had a year ago, and man, she's looking just like herself. So I mean, I know she's glad to be able to take Texas to the first Final Four since 2003, and yeah. And Texas they will be playing the familiar foe in the Final Four. SEC matchup again in South Carolina. They both split in the regular season, and then South Carolina ended up beating Texas in the SEC championship. So I'm interested to see kind of how this matchup will go. I feel like South Carolina might get the edge, but I mean Texas. I mean I feel like no, they're not gonna make it easy. I feel like hopefully it should be a more closer game than it was down in Greenville, South Carolina for the SEC tournament. And then UCLA will be playing UConn, and UConn beat Southern Cal. I mean, I figured UConn would. I figured Southern Cal would make it past Kansas State, but once they got up against UConn, it's probably gonna be too much to kind of weather the storm without Juju there. Because they were able to beat UConn at UConn by 2 with Juju, so I know this is gonna be a tough battle. But I mean, USC, they never gave up. They kept on clawing and battling all game. Page had 31 points for UConn. But I mean, yeah, what a great season. I mean, sucks kind of, couldn't see this battle. I was looking forward to seeing if Juju and Page, battle like one more time just to get to the Final Four. I mean, that would have been great to see. But, things happen. And UConn is moving on, and they'll play UCLA, which will be an interesting matchup. I feel like either maybe the guard play would really be a big factor in this one. I mean, Lauren Betts, she's gonna show up. Paige Baker is gonna show up. But I feel like the lookout for this is kind of like AZ Fudd, Sarah Strong. I'm kind of interested to see what kind of games they'll have, because I know, of course, Paige and Lauren are gonna come. And Kiki Rice for UCLA, I'm interested to see like how she'll step up. Was she more of like the facilitator, or will she kind of be more of that in that scoring mode? So this will be an interesting matchup to see. But I feel like UConn might squeak past them, but I mean UCLA, they're not gonna make it easy. Maybe they might even they're like we're number one overall seed. They might end up surprising us and end up winning the game. But I feel like UConn might have the slight edge, and we'll be able to go to the championship game on Sunday night. And the Final Four is Friday, April 5th, and then Sunday, April 7th for the championship game. It's down in Tampa, Florida. And all one seeds made except for Southern Cal, and because they lost to UConn. UConn's a 2 seed. So yeah, the Final Four, tune in. It's going to be on Friday at 7 p.m. Texas and South Carolina will play, and the UCLA will play at 9 p.m. So it should be 2 great matchups. I'm excited to watch it and see it. Can't wait to see what South Carolina, Texas have in store for this will be the 4th matchup. So, I mean, playing a team 3 times is a little, tough, but 4 times, I mean, it'll be interesting to see will Texas be able to to split it, or will South Carolina be able to have the advantage. I think South Carolina, I think they'll be able to have the advantage. I think too much of the post play, but Texas, they show that they can their defense, it's legit, and Texas able to even hold TCU They had like three. TCU had three 5-second out of bounds violations. So, I mean, Texas, if that defense shows up, I mean, it might be a different story. Just like how like they were able to beat South Carolina at Texas. So we'll see what happens. And UConn, UCLA, then 9 p.m. So tune in Friday night, April 4th. It's gonna be a great one, and I can't wait to see it. And speaking of like seasons have ended for some teams, which means we can kind of like, well, not all the way, but kind of like look towards seeing what kind of uh, players schools are like bringing in for that next season now, because some season teams are now like in the off season. And the McDonald's All-American game, they had their American games on Tuesday, April 1st, and basically it's kind of like an all-star game for high schoolers, like the best high schoolers in the country. They get nominated to be McDonald's All-Americans, and they just play against each other. The game was in Brooklyn, and just the top high school talent, they get to showcase their skills, and everyone can kind of like, I guess, if you haven't been able to see them play yet, but you've heard about them, you kind of like actually can see them like on like a national broadcast and kind of see what these players are about. So the number one player, number one player in the class is Leah Chavez, and she's going to Oklahoma. That's why I feel like the future is bright for Oklahoma, with the number one player coming in. I was kind of surprised to see her she was coming, but I mean, I feel like more players are now. I think she's from Lubbock, Texas, but most players are kind of like trying to stay like home and kind of like be like that. I guess like that influence for like their hometowns and win where they're from. And I mean, I respect it. Like Juju Watkins, she stayed home. I mean, Asia Wilson, she stayed home. So I mean, I respect it. I feel like if you want to like basically you want to see what you can do and like be able to like have your community behind you, your family and friends, they can like come to all your games. So I mean, I really respect the move. But like I saw her in the game on the McDonald's All-American. I mean, she played pretty well. I'm just kind of like interested to see how she does against like other college players and what she'll do. So yeah, so that'll be pretty exciting for Oklahoma to have the number one player coming in. And Duke is getting the number 7 player, Emily Skinner, and I was actually really impressed with her. She's a point guard, 6-foot point guard. So I mean, I've noticed Coach Kara Lawson. She's been basically getting taller at each position. If you've watched her through the years, like Ash is 6'6". Reagan was 5'11". I mean, T. Mayer Taina, I mean, she's like 5'10", 5'11", but I mean, once she graduates, you have a 6-foot point guard, coming in. Toby 6'2", Delaney Thomas 6'3", Ari, she's like 6'3", 6'4". I mean that's what you need really. You need to be length. You need that. Excuse me. You need that now on this age to kind of like go far when you need that length at every position. And her being 6 foot and being able to like guard smaller guard, I feel like that's gonna really come in handy for them next year. And like I was really impressed seeing like she had like this crazy like behind the back like Sports Center top 10 play that she had. I was like, man, like, and just seeing her pass, it seems like she's a great rebounding guard. Her defense, like I can't wait to see her at Duke next year. Like she Duke got a good one with this one. I really haven't seen her play yet. I've heard about her, but I was really kind of impressed to see her like out there. She looks really good. I can't wait to see her play with like Ash. I can't wait to see her just like throwing it down to like Toby and Ari or even Delaney. I can't wait to see her in the pick and roll, pick and pop. I mean, that's gonna be great to see. So Emily Skinner, she was pretty great. Another player that caught my eye was Grace Knox. She's gonna go into LSU. Ego Makier, she's playing for South Carolina. And another player I was like really caught my eye. Well, I saw her last summer was Jasmine. Well, they call her Jazzy Davidson. She looked really, really good out there. And she's going to Southern Cal. So I mean, it'll be great to see once Juju gets healthy, like her and Jazzy. I mean, because she's a dog. I mean, I love the way she plays. Like even I saw her last summer. She was playing with Sarah Strong and Ari Roberson for USA basketball. I mean, they were just killing the game overseas. I mean, they won the medal, the gold medal, in their age brackets. I mean, I'm like, man, she's tough. And then I realized she's only just going into her senior year that year. So I'm like, man, she's gonna be good. So Southern Cal, they got a good one. So I mean, I can't wait to see what she does next year. And I feel like she'll probably have be able to do more as well too. Because with the Juju Watkins injury, she'll be able to kind of like be able to get like more into the offense, and we'll see what she does. And I'm excited to see her. And the West West beat the East. I think this is the first time in about a few years that the West beat the East, 104-82. Sienna Betts, that's Lauren's sister. Lauren Betts' sister, played for UCLA, and she's also going to UCLA. Won MVP with 16 points and 7 boards, and she was looking pretty good too. I mean, UCLA, they're reloading as well. Stanford, I think, had like 3 All-Americans on their squad. Oh, but yeah, 3 All-Americans. So, I mean, I'm excited to see what Stanford will do when next year, because they have some, I know they had like this down year, but I know they'll be back and ready to go. I know Notre Dame, they had having an All-American Leah Macy, but she was injured, but I mean, hopefully she'll be ready to go for the season to start. In Tennessee, I know they have these twins that are coming to Tennessee, and I know one of them actually was a McDonald's All-American. Yeah, Mia Paludo, and she also has a twin, and they're going to Tennessee. I mean, Tennessee, they're loading back up too. I see already 3 McDonald's All-Americans on the East roster for Tennessee. So they're loading back up. North Carolina has Nyla Brooks coming. She's out of Virginia. And yeah. Yeah, pretty good roster for everyone. I mean, good. Can see where everybody's going. Like you can see, like most like people, Stanford, South Carolina, LSU. They have multiple McDonald's Americans. Tennessee. But yeah, I love watching the game and kind of like I think so. So yeah, so it should be pretty interesting to watch. I'm really interested in seeing the future stars of college hoops. Once they're done, when we'll be able to see them play. And with that comes, also with new stars coming in, there's also the transfer portal. Because with the transfer portal now, you'll be able to play. I mean, right out the gate. So once you transfer, and that used to be where you transferred, you had to wait a year, and then you could play. But now you can just once you transfer, you can basically play that next year. So it's some interesting names in the portal. I mean, this is a surprise. Olivia Miles. I mean, I think it's the biggest one out in Notre Dame. She decided to forego the WNBA draft and wants to come back to school. And I guess the surprising part is she wanted to transfer out of Notre Dame. I mean, I know like people been talking about her defense. Maybe that's probably why she wants to showcase that she can still play defense at a high level, and maybe she might be trying to get some NIL money somewhere else. Get a bag before she leaves. So I mean, it's pretty interesting to see that she didn't want to go to the draft, but maybe she wants to work on some things. So kudos to her, and it'll be interesting to see where she goes. I think, or more so too, as well, she probably wants the keys to the team. I know with Hannah there, it sounded like they had like a 2-point guard, lineup going, but now I feel like she probably wants to go somewhere where she can be, the main point guard. And then Tanaya Latson, FSU, that was a surprise. She's leaving like the number one leading scorer in the nation. So I'm interested to see where she goes. I would love if Duke was able to pick her up, but I know Duke really needs that, that offensive, go to threat. But I know Toby's kind of like shaping up to maybe be that. But if they had a guard, boom, just go get a bucket. You can just know she can go get one. I would love to see Tanaya Latson. I don't know if they really have the room for her, but I feel like that'd be a great pickup for her. And Samaya Smith is leaving LSU. That was kind of interesting too, as well. I didn't really think she was going to go since Anise is leaving. I feel like she would have more opportunities for herself, but maybe she feels like she might have more opportunities somewhere else. You just never really know with the transfer portal. Cody McMahon, she's leaving the Ohio State University as a grad transfer. That was really interesting too, but I guess with they've been getting upset it's for the second straight years at home, so I guess she may just wants to change the scenery to get over that hump of getting out of the second round. Jada Williams left Arizona. A lot of players actually left Arizona. I don't know what Coach Adia Barnes, I don't know what's going on over there, but I know it's like 3 or 4 players have already transferred out, and Jada Williams just announced today she's going to Iowa State. She's from Kansas City, Missouri, so I think she just wanted to be closer to home. And I think she'll have 2 years left. She's a sophomore. And Latasha Lattimore at UVA, she's transferring to Ole Miss. Coach Show, she's reloading. I think she had 2 more transfers that transferred to her as well. So Coach Show, she's getting the Ole Miss together. And some other notable transfers: Tony Morgan, Kara Dunn, and Danny Carnegie out of Georgia Tech. And Danny Carnegie just won the 6th one of the year as a freshman for Georgia Tech, and Lucci won as a freshman too last year. And they're all transferring. But it makes sense because Nell Fortner, the coach of Georgia Tech, is retiring. She won Coach of the Year in 3 different Power 4 conferences. So congrats on a great season, Coach. It's sad to see you go, but I know, whatever you do in life, good luck to you and your future endeavors. But Georgia Tech having all those transfers, which makes sense since the coach is leaving. But I'll try to keep y'all updated about more transfers, more I guess the most sought out transfers as well. I think 2 more players from Notre Dame had transferred out too as well. So I don't know what's going on with Notre Dame. I don't know, maybe they know something we don't know. But yeah, I think then NC State had 1 player that's transferring out. So I'll try to keep y'all updated with the transfer portal news and who's going where. But these right here are kind of my big, most notable players in the transfer portal. They're going. So we'll see where they end up. And yeah, so pretty good stuff. Excited for the Final Four coming up. And the last weekend of college basketball, but of course we had the draft to be in a couple weeks. I'm excited for that, and the WNBA will be here before you know it. So still more hoops. We'll get that, and then hopefully we'll know where more college players are going within the next few weeks or so, where they might be headed. So still interesting, exciting stuff going on. Still gonna have basketball coming up in April and May. So excited to see where these college players will be going and what they'll be doing. So, yeah, can't wait. And as always, thank you guys for tuning in, and can't wait to talk to you guys next time, and hope you enjoy this episode, and we'll see you soon.